beginning to work on some projects. He's new to the community. And after that, we'll ask for Peg Staten, who is a new member of our auxiliary police force, to lead us in the pledge. So if everyone would please stand, and Pastor Aaron.
Thank you. Let us pray. Loving and gracious God, during this Advent season, as we prepare our hearts and patiently await the birth of the Christ child, we celebrate by noting the hope, peace, joy, and love Jesus' birth brings. And it is that hope, peace, joy, and love for which we pray tonight. Be with the members of this council and allow them to hold on to hope. Encourage them in their work that they do and allow them to keep hoping as they seek to bring about a better tomorrow for this community. During moments of heated disagreement, let them first seek peace. Remind them that all who are here want what is best for Bristol, even if others seek to achieve those results by advocating for a different path. Remind them of the joy found in service. In the middle of long meetings, during the midst of stressful decisions, and while listening to overly critical complaints, let them see the honor and privilege that it is to represent others, and let them find joy in it. Finally, keep at the forefront of their minds the love that they have for this community and the love that they have for their constituents. Rather than winning or losing, allow these virtues to guide their decision-making, because when they do, everyone wins. It is in Jesus' name, the source of our hope, the provider of our peace, the bringer of our joy, and the example of our love, that we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Let us stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you both for your leadership this evening. Mr. Sora, do you have any items to add to the agenda this morning?
No, Mayor, the agenda is complete.
Thank you. We have, and this is somewhat of a Christmas miracle, no proclamations, presentations, or public hearings on tonight's agenda. So next is the appearance of citizens, and this section provides an opportunity for the public to address City Council on any matter that's not on our printed agenda for formal consideration. Comments are limited to matters of city business only. A response is not likely to be made at this time, since in most cases the City Council nor the City Manager are prepared to effectively respond to a concern. The City Manager may look into the matter, report back to Council, or as appropriate, have staff meet with you in effort to satisfy your concern. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual, are not transferable to other individuals, and groups are encouraged to select a spokesperson to represent them. I have been provided the list of folks who desire to address City Council this evening, and the first person is John O'Rourke. And if you want to come forward and give your name and address.
Good evening. My name is John O'Rourke. Address is 1305 Broad Street. I'm here speaking about city business in regards to proposing a city ordinance for you all to consider in terms of making Bristol, Tennessee a sanctuary city for the unborn. This is regarding the abortion issue in Bristol, Tennessee, as we have, as you know, one abortion clinic here in Bristol, Tennessee. And this is basically a call for justice as local civil magistrates before God, as you all have consistently opened your meetings in prayer in Jesus' name. Well, as you probably know, Jesus requires justice of you. Especially in Psalm chapter 2, he declares to you as kings or as magistrates to kiss him and to do justice, or else he will judge you instead. And I don't want that for you. I do care about you all, but I also care for the unborn, and I care about the injustice going on. And by way of description, in terms of what is going on, for your information to educate you all, according to Bristol Regional Women's Center's website, which is the abortion clinic here in Bristol, Tennessee, They do surgical and chemical abortions, and surgical abortions are by vacuum aspiration, according to their website, and vacuum aspiration is the method by which they take a very strong vacuum and stick it into the uterus and suck a baby apart into pieces and then reassemble the baby's body parts onto a tray to make sure that all the body parts are there so the mother does not get an infection if any are left inside the womb. Gruesome as it is, that's exactly why I'm talking to you, because there is injustice going on, and it must be something that is your business, must be something that you care about. As I know many of you care about children, you're involved with youth activities. Well, here are children that are being murdered week by week. And it's about time that justice prevailed here in Bristol. I ask that, as your rules say, that I could meet with some of you and discuss the details of this. Of course, 3 minutes is certainly not enough to go into detail about what a sanctuary city is, but how it can be done through a city ordinance and how there is precedent for this already in the United States and cities. So I thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and God bless.
Right, is there anyone else here this evening who wishes to address City Council? Seeing none, we'll move on our agenda. Appointments, we have no appointments this evening. So we have ordinances and resolutions. We have nothing under first reading. We do have second reading. Mr. Sora, if you could talk to us about Ordinance 1913, amending Chapter 10 of the city's Code of Ordinance as it relates to the tethering of dogs.
Yes, Mayor. Yes, Mayor, I'd be happy to. As you indicated, this matter was before you for first reading last month. It comes before you again this evening for second reading. This is an amendment of Chapter 10. It provides a new subsection, the Section 1046, which prohibits the tethering of dogs between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. The prohibition is waived, or has a provision to be waived by permit under a condition that the owner demonstrates a need for relief from the tethering prohibition based upon their work schedule. The permit would designate a specific 8-hour period in which the animal could not be tethered as a result of that. At last month's meeting, there was the ordinance as originally submitted was amended by council to include an exception for hunting and sporting dogs. This exception would also be administered through the permit process. The tethering prohibition, if approved, would become effective July the 1st of 2020.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that Ordinance 1913, an ordinance to amend Chapter 10, Animals of the Code of Ordinances by prohibiting tethering of dogs between certain hours unless otherwise permitted, be tabled until our formal January meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
I think that since Malin is not here tonight, he had asked that we consider tabling it until he can be here at the next meeting, so.
Okay. Anybody else? I think we're ready to vote on the tabling of this item.
Powers,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
All right, so we'll have that on our January agenda. The next is a resolution endorsing the joint legislative policy of the Tri-Cities for the 2020 session of the Tennessee General Assembly.
Yes, Mayor, as has been our historical practice for at least as long as I've been with the city and probably a number of years prior to that, the three cities of Northeast Tennessee have provided a uniformed or unified position regarding several items to deal with the state General Assembly, and have made these known to our legislative delegation in advance of the General Assembly commencing in January. This year being no exception to that. Historically, we've either had a breakfast or lunch meeting with our legislative delegation. Over the last couple of years, we've gone to Nashville, and we will again do that this year on the 27th and 28th of January. But in our policy document that was discussed at our work session, and I think the Johnson City and Kingsport have both looked at this during work sessions. Kingsport is considering this item formally this evening. Johnson City will on Thursday evening of this week. But the policy document is divided into 5 basic categories. We have urban growth and planning. Under that, we have items that such as de-annexation and annexation, items regarding the statutory authority for planning commissions, and also added as a result of your dialogue last week, historic tax credits. The second item, the second broad topic of the 5 is education funding. And as we discussed during our work session, this deals with maintenance of effort for education purposes and how that's interpreted by either the Comptroller's Office or the Department of Education. We've also have a narrative addressing repairing the Education Finance Act, and this is specifically Public Chapter 305 and Public Chapter 315 and associated issues with that. Under local revenue, as council is aware, the Hall income tax does sunset at the end of 2021, and we've asked for consideration of the statutory authority to create other revenue streams for local governments across the state in lieu of the loss of the Hall income tax. We've also have issues there with utilities and how rates are set for both in-city and outside city customers, as well as caps on the recovery for medical bills for tort suits. Under public safety and health, and this information has been provided by our district attorney's office as well as the chiefs of the 3 cities, deal with the regulation of pain clinics and Suboxone clinics. Also opposing any legislation that would limit the current restrictions regarding DUI seizures and drug trafficking seizures, as well as smoking. And I think this has long been a concern of this council regarding our lack of ability to control smoking at some of our facilities, such as parks and so forth. And then lastly, dealing with passenger rail and the ask for the General Assembly to consider creating a department similar to the Commonwealth of Virginia with the Virginia Department of Passenger and Passenger Rail Transportation. These, obviously, this is a broad brush stroke, and we went into this in more detail during our work session, but that's before you this evening. As has been our custom, if there are any areas of the policy document that a particular governing body has exception to, then that is addressed this week as it goes before the 3 governing bodies formally.
Thank you. Does anybody have, any council have questions? Okay. I think we're ready for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Well, I appreciate staff's dive on this, putting together our legislative agenda. Several of these things we've brought up before. One that I think is very important is the historic tax credits, because historic tax credits is just one more, as I was told, tool in our chest so that we can, historic tax credits, what some may or may not know is that the historic tax credits could be acquired, and then they have the opportunity to sell historic tax credits and to generate those real revenues for an ongoing project. And then it's just very positive. All of this that we have in our legislative agenda to go to Nashville may be considered across the state. It may also be considered in the form of a private act specific to any one or multiple communities. So I really appreciate, I think we've hit on some really solid ground here, and hope that we'll be embraced by our state legislators.
Anybody else? I'll just add that we're talking a lot the last however long it's been about regionalism, et cetera, and this is one of the ways that, as Mr. Sora said, for quite a few years, and 20 or more, that we have prepared this legislative agenda together as the Tri-Cities. So the things that we agree on, that we can all work on together to have one voice with our legislature. So it's something we're proud of, and it's pretty much a habit of doing. So we think it's a good example. Also, at our work session, I think we talked briefly about trying to look to see if there's some things that legislative that our state might be able to do that encourage us to do collaboration across state and county, across county and city lines. Across state lines makes it it's a pretty hard lift, but across our city and county lines that may encourage us, and to look at other states to see if they've done some things or started some programs that could be helpful in those ways. So as this session gets started, we're hoping we can kind of keep our eyes out and see whether there are things we can include in the future or encourage in addition during this session. The other, I'll just speak briefly to the passenger rail, and in Virginia they have DRPT, the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, and a lot of folks believe that that has really helped the state of Virginia to address rail because it's separate from their Department of Transportation, and they're able to focus in. And in Virginia, they've made it a goal to have passenger rail accessible, I think, within 150 miles of every resident in the state of Virginia, and if we can get it to Bristol, I think they will achieve their goal. So we know it's a long-range project for Tennessee to embrace rail and move that forward, but by including it, we hope our voice is heard with our legislators and with those in the state.
I have just one other little tidbit. From the USA Today, dated, let's see, when was this dated? December 2nd, most recently. You know, they do each state, they have a little blurb about something exciting happening in each state. And in Tennessee, from Nashville, the state of Tennessee is projected to have between $345 million and $408 million in new general fund revenue when our lawmakers go into Nashville in January to begin setting the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So the revenues that they'll be working with are anywhere from $345 to $408 million more dollars than they had last year. So I'm encouraged by the fiscal responsibility that the state has taken over the past several years, and am very hopeful that some of these millions of dollars will be returned to the local level. So there you go.
Is there anyone here tonight who would like to address council on this issue? If not, Tara, I believe we're ready to vote.
Powers,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Fire Robin,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
I think that brings us to our consent agenda.
Merry
Mr.
Christmas.
Mr. Sora, we're going to be a little slap happy here. Calm down. Would you please read the items on tonight's consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor. The first item are the minutes of the November 5th, 2019 City Council meeting, then the minutes of the November 26th, 2019 City Council work session, Resolution 19-112 authorizing payments to Hunter Smith and Davis in excess of $10,000, Resolution 19-113 approving additional signatories to the city's drug fund, Resolution 19-114 authorizing the purchase of in-car video systems with body cameras, Resolution 19-115 awarding a bid for the purchase of solid waste collection knuckle boom, and Resolution 19-116 awarding bid for recycling collection services.
Would any member of council like to remove any item from the agenda? Seeing none, I think we need a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda of December 3rd, 2019.
I'll second.
And a second. Tara, we're ready for roll call.
Powers,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Fire Robin,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
All right. This brings us to Dr. Sisk to join us again this evening for the Board of Education Liaison Report. So if you want to share with us, we're happy to have you here.
I tried to get here at the beginning. Regrettably, we have wrestling, we have Christmas concerts, we have basketball, And we have a lot of young'uns going around the city doing things. So, and I try to see as many of them as I can. In fact, I was in 19 classrooms today. We visited over at Anderson, and we visited over at Fairmount. And so saw some really great things going on in our classrooms. I continue to be excited by what I see in our classrooms. There's a lot of great teaching and learning going on. In working with our leadership team in the city schools, we are working on a number of objectives that we think will position ourselves next year to do some innovative things. For example, I think everybody knows where I stand on career technical education. I have written to the State Commissioner of Education presenting a proposal for something I call I-squared. It stands for an industry instructor. What I'm asking Commissioner Swin to do is give credence to the idea that we can create a public-private partnership where we can bring in critical skills tradesmen into our schools half-time who are practitioners, who are then certified by our community college system. The community college system would cover a third. We would cover a third as an adjunct. The employer would cover a third. And the advantage to that, obviously, is stability in the instructor force, but also it gives our industry partners who would involve themselves in this event an opportunity to build relationships with future employees, which I think would bode well in this environment where we don't have enough skilled labor in a number of areas. The other proposal, and I'll be meeting with some folks from the State Department in Nashville later this week, involves a program called RISE. It stands for Reaching Industrial Students Educationally. RISE and I-Square will become part of what we call Bristol Bridge. And there will be more information as we finish out the details on that. We're going to be presenting some of that information at our upcoming work session to the Board of Education to get their input. But I think you're going to be very pleased as we move forward with that. Bridge includes not only career technical but early college offerings for our students, as well as expansion of the arts and some of the other areas that we're looking at doing. It's hard to believe I've only been on the job 30 days, but I still get lost. I'm still GPS dependent in many respects, but I would like the council to know that we truly want to work with you in any capacity that we can. I attended my first Sullivan County Commission meeting maybe 2 weeks ago. So it was a good opportunity for me to make some connections there. The message I communicated to them is that we want Bristol City Schools to be a contributing member to the dynamics of our county, that we want to be a part of creating a high-tech and sophisticated workforce that makes it easier for Mr. Anderson and others in our Economic Development Office to attract industry and business to Bristol. But not only Bristol, the Tri-Cities area. So I have to be cognizant of the fact that I'm still a resident of Sullivan County as well as a resident of Bristol. Can I answer any questions from the council? I will try to do a better job. I had intended to give you an email about the upcoming Christmas concerts and things, and I'm going to try to get that brought by so that if your schedule permits, you can come and see our children perform. I'm really excited about it. We had 11 students make all-state choir this year. So that's an all-time high, well, I'll say all-time, in most recent years. So we're really excited about that. And of course, our basketball team did well in the Bahamas. Our boys team went undefeated and won the tournament. Our girls finished 3-1. We're very excited about that, and basketball is in full swing as well, you know, and it won't be long. We're going to be going to something called an Arby's basketball tournament. So I'm kind of excited about that. So can I answer any questions that the council might have?
Well, I'll just say that a couple of months ago, there was discussion with Dr. Tudor about touring all the schools with City Council, and I think we were trying to line things up. So we're looking forward to whenever that occasion presents itself to go through all the schools and just, see what the facilities look like.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to orchestrate that.
In fact, during my classroom visits today, I took a school board member with me. So it will be my habit each month to take a different board member, and if a council person would like to come along in those walkthroughs, we would love for you to do so. I'll let you know in advance when we plan to do the next round of these. I will have finished my December rounds by the end of this week, but if you would like to come next week, let me know what your schedules permit, and maybe I can work something out and take you in. I'd love for you to see what we're doing.
Perfect.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here, and we appreciate you and our school system and all the folks who work with our children. I think it's city manager's report.
Yes, there's a handful of dates that I would like for City Council to be aware of. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., the Tennessee Municipal League District 1 will have their annual meeting. This will be held in Irwin at the Brambles and should conclude by noon. Thursday, December the 5th is our annual Christmas parade. The Christmas parade kicks off at 7. We generally gather between 6:15 and 6:30 in preparation for that event. It does form up on Morrison Boulevard with the parade certainly on State Street. Tuesday, December 10th, we have 2 workshops scheduled to provide information on historic districts and also to solicit input into design guidelines for those districts. First meeting will be held at 2 p.m. in the Annex Conference Room, and that meeting will focus on commercial properties, primarily in the downtown area. The second meeting will be held at 6 p.m. in the Annex, and it will focus on residential properties. This is Fairmount and the Holston Avenue area, which are ideal for this type of zoning designation. On Wednesday, December the 11th, we'll have our annual employee longevity recognition luncheon. I hope that each of you will be able to attend that. That will commence at noon in the Steel Creek Park Lodge. And then we will be moving our work session up a week. It will be held on Tuesday, December 17th at 11 a.m. In the Annex. And then lastly, Mayor Fierobin has asked that going into the census season, that we have some awareness discussion or presentation. And tonight, John Luttrell, our Director of Communication, he's going to share with us one of the 2020 census videos currently airing on our BTN station, and also talk about a little bit of data that's been arranged already or been compiled already in this process. John?
Thank you, Mr. Storer, members of council. As you all may be aware, as he said, we've continually been running new PSAs each month that are produced by the U.S. Census Bureau on BTN TV. We're going to show you the one that we've been featuring this past month leading up to tonight right now.
Ever since I was little, I've known it's important to count the right number. Like the number of scoops I got in my ice cream cone. Hey, I asked for 5. Or the number of coins in my piggy bank. I remember this one time in class. Our teacher, Mr. Knorr, came in with a surprise for us. It was his birthday, so he brought cupcakes for everyone. But there was a problem. He had 15 cupcakes, and there were 20 of us in class. Mr. Knorr should have counted more carefully when he was taking attendance. Counting is also really important for the U.S. Census Bureau. In the spring of 2020, it will count every person who lives in the United States. They call this count the 2020 census. It's just like when your teacher takes attendance in class, except it's for the whole country. For the 2020 census, the Census Bureau needs every person to tell the country they are here, in every home, in every neighborhood, in every state, on every U.S. island territory. Everywhere! Tell the adults in your home to make sure they count everyone who lives with you. That includes grandparents, uncles and aunts, cousins, even people who aren't related to you who live with you. Make sure they count every kid, even babies who are 1 day old. Make sure they count you too, but not the cat. It's really important to count everyone. Why? Because a correct count for the 2020 census helps the government figure out what your community needs. That can mean more schools, teachers, classroom computers, or after-school activities and programs. It can also mean more help for things like parks and playgrounds. housing, roads, hospitals, and so much more. The 2020 census starts in the spring, and April 1st is Census Day. Ask a grown-up in your home to circle April 1st on the calendar as a reminder to complete the census. Help us make sure we get the right count. Then we can all celebrate. Tell all of the adults in your home to make sure you're counted in the 2020 census. Learn more at 2020census.gov.
So we'll be premiering a new census video on BTN this week that will be featured over the next month. We're all becoming more and more aware of just how important the census is to our community. But to be successful in getting that complete count, the Census Bureau needs people. In Bristol, and this is just as of, I believe, yesterday, the Bureau currently needs an applicant pool of about 244 people to fill those census taker positions. They have 52. So we're pretty far off of that mark. They've started hiring census takers and will continue to do so into the new year, but more applicants are obviously needed. Pay rates for census takers do vary by location. In Washington County and Bristol, Virginia, the pay rate is $14 per hour. In Sullivan County, the rate is actually $19 per hour. The difference in pay rates has to do with which regional census office they report to. So that's Roanoke and Knoxville in our case. So that's how they base those rates. To be eligible for a 2020 census job, applicants must be at least 18 years of age or older with a valid Social Security number, be a U.S. citizen, have a valid email address, complete an application and answer assessment questions, be registered with the Selective Service System or have a qualifying exemption, pass a census-performed criminal background check, commit to completing training, and be available to work flexible hours, which can include days, evenings, and possibly weekends. Most positions also require employees to have access to a vehicle and a valid driver's license and access to a computer and internet with an email account, primarily to complete their training. For more information on the census jobs available, interested individuals may visit 2020census.gov and click on Jobs. Locally, our next Complete Count Committee meeting will be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. at the Bristol Public Library, where we will be discussing those immediate needs of filling the census positions, as well as longer-term efforts to ensure that we count all of our people, because as we say, all of our people do count. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And everything that I was thinking of to say, to add, you covered. So that's awesome. Okay, so that's
I
it.
just have a question about the census. I was asked today if we had set aside any revenues to specifically spend towards the census itself.
I believe that is a topic that the count committee is planning on discussing tomorrow morning, actually.
Okay. Yeah, so to be able to set aside funds, we needed a budget, and I think that was going to be worked on for this meeting to come together.
Okay.
To have a budget. So I hope that means you're in favor of it. Having some funds for advertising and for doing some different things that we need to do.
I will wait to hear the facts.
So, yeah, and also I'll say, in addition on the, that the government uses it, everybody uses those numbers that are provided. Nonprofits use it, foundations use it for funding. Tom Anderson back there can probably state that that's information that economic developers, folks who are looking at our region use those numbers. They're just used in all different kinds of ways and are critical that we get accurate counts in the process. So, anyway, okay, council.
I'll start the lightning round.
Okay.
Since we're going for a world's record of the shortest city council meeting ever. No, I'll just say, Dr. Sisk, really exciting to hear the things that you talk about. We're really proud of our school system and how well we've done over the past years, but to hear you talk is really, really amazing, the things that you're, the visioning that you're seeing along with our board. So we appreciate that a lot. I don't want to take a lot of time. I just want to say I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas.
Okay, I'll continue the lightning round. Believe in Bristol, we always have that the morning of our council meeting, and it's such great energy, such great work. This Saturday, December the 7th, we'll have Santa at the Center, and it's not just for children. There are adults that show up too. Last year, our first participant pulled up on a Harley and had his picture made with Santa. So December the 7th, it starts at 10 o'clock. I may not have these exactly in order. December 15th, the Bristol Historical Association will have their annual luncheon at the train station at 12 noon, and it is open to the public. You can go online and find out more about that. Something that Believe in Bristol has started doing that I think has really been positive is they have business and brews, and that's whether you have brew in the morning with coffee or brew in the afternoon with brews. It'll be Monday, December 16th from 5 to 6:30. Terry, do you remember where that is this time?
Cascade Draft House.
That's right, Cascade Draft House on State Street. It's just a gathering of local business people that come together and network, really a great thing. Tuesday, December 17th, we'll continue with Journey's End, 6 o'clock. We'll meet at the Downtown Center for that. A great evening. The tree lighting last night was great. It was very cold. Our shop local was Saturday, very well attended, as well as on Friday. And last Monday night, we had the open house downtown, and it was just covered up. So we're very excited by all of these things that continue to happen in our downtown area. I too would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and express my appreciation for being allowed to sit in this seat. So, and looking forward to a great new year.
Dr. Sisk, I'll give you a call next week and look maybe some time to go through the schools. I've done a couple already, so got a few left, but I just want to say Merry Christmas to everyone, and hope everyone can take this time to spend with your families, and we have a lot going on over the next few weeks, so that's it.
So we do have a lot of opportunities in our community to celebrate the holidays, celebrate Christmas, celebrate community together. So hope that lots of folks will participate in the different things that we have, and certainly lots of school activities that can help folks get in Christmas season and spirit, etc. I'll share one announcement is that we are working on 2020 is the celebration of the women's right to vote. And there's a lot of opportunities to look at our history and to celebrate, and to also look at the fact that not all women got the right to vote in 1920. Anyway, so the YWCA and city, Bristol, Virginia, and Bristol, Tennessee, together are going to have 2 planning sessions next Monday, December 9th at 6:30 at the library, and then Tuesday, December 10th at 10 o'clock at the YWCA. There's some things that are already on the agenda, including a play at Barter Theater, and we'll have a proclamation in January for both cities, a joint proclamation. But we want different groups to do some different planning, et cetera, so hoping to get people together and think about what we can do to commemorate and celebrate 100 years. And also, I hadn't done a lot of reading, but apparently women were active for 72 years before the right to vote happened. Also, Tennessee was the last ratification number for that amendment. So, and it could be interesting if Virginia were to ratify the ERA in 2020, that could be fun to see that happen. Before I close out, David Akert's here, Sullivan County Commissioner, also on our Parks and Rec Board. So David, we always like to see, and BTES Board. We welcome you and see that you're wearing your Tennessee orange. So even if you're not wearing your Christmas colors, that'll work. So, also just wishing everybody a great Christmas holiday season, but also recognizing that holidays and cold winters can be hard times for a lot of people. I know all of us have shared that at different times. Also thinking about some folks who are finding out health issues that are unexpected, and also health issues that are progressing. So anyway, at this time we want to wish everyone the best, and we look forward to 2020. With that, we'll see you here next month. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're back, and these have just come out of the oven. Oh my gosh, they smell so delicious. While they're warm, we're going to go ahead